Good morning.
Hi, Steve. How are
How are
you?
you? I'm good, thanks. And yourself?
Good, great.
Good.
So, Steve, uh, you've been playing the game and having good success, I suppose. Like in the recent conversations in the game, everybody's been talking about you and you having consecutive wins.
Yeah, I enjoyed playing the game.
Right.
I haven't been on as often as I would like. I've been busy with like educational kind of
All right.
material and certifications I need to achieve or I've got a desire to achieve. So I've been busy with that. But
Okay.
occasionally I jump on and have a game now and again just as a kind of break kind of thing, yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, it all makes sense. Continue to build my financial education,
Right.
and yeah, I think that's the beauty in it. Just when it becomes like second nature, almost intuitive.
Good, good, good.
Yes,
That's exactly the intent of all this
yes.
practice.
Yes. So
It's great to
I guess
see.
it's all coming together. Yeah.
Right, right. So you suddenly start realizing because you have to get to a point where this comes so easily to you, so you can actually start focusing on additional learning, more
Yes.
things to
Yes.
discover.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, just
Because if you're
building
so
out
focused on playing the game and it becomes so let's say you have to spend your energy to play the game, then you will not discover more things because all your energy is focused on playing the game.
yes.
Once you are familiar with that, then it becomes easier. You become disciplined. You become it comes very easily, and then you can discover more things. You can understand in a better way.
Yes.
I'm glad it's happening for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, here's Ben.
I think this is Victoria joining us.
Good morning. Yes, it's Victoria.
Victoria, yes.
Good morning.
So that's Steve there, and Ben is just connecting. Ben, are you able to hear us? Ben, respond. Okay, I see the chat. All right, so let's just give it a few more. That's one, two, three, four of us here. Let's give it a few more minutes. Victoria, I think this is your first time over here.
Yes, it's first time.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And okay, so while anybody else who wants to join us getting here, I'll just run you through what happens over here. Normally, we try to play a game and we play it very slowly so we can explain, discuss, and analyze every deal.
Yes.
And to do that, you will need a sheet of paper, a pen or a pencil, and a calculator,
Okay, cool.
right? So we are a lot of hands-on things over here. So just get geared up for that. Victoria, are you following?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you will see the game online right now. I will
Give
make
me a 1 minute just to enter
no
the
problem.
website, please.
Sure.
Good. I'm in.
All right.
Okay, what is the name?
So it's Global Cashflow Club, so GC Club,
Okay, cool.
and I'm going to make a game for four. Everyone ready? Shall we go?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so Ben is here. Victoria, this is a free session of Zoom, so it might end in 40 minutes. So if it ends in 40 minutes, don't worry. Just use the same link or the same passcode and meeting ID to log back in. We'll restart.
Okay, we did something like that last weekend with Ben and Roger.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so the first deal of this game, today's game, uh, I think I'll ask Steve to explain.
Okay.
Right, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so this is a duplex in a good neighborhood. Proud owner retiring to another state to be near her grandchildren. So, yeah, it commands the property commands top value, but in terms of achieving capital gains, it is 35,000 a unit. So there's only the on a 35,000 for the market opportunity, that's a break even, and there's only one card above that, which is the 40,000. In terms of it's a 10% down payment, and the return on investment is, let me just have a look at that. But there's a 5% ROI for a 10% deposit. So,
Is it a
yeah,
5%?
sorry?
Is it a 5%? I think not.
Uh,
It's a 2%.
yes, yes, it is. You're correct. It is very low.
Yes.
So unless you had an abundance of cash and you were just looking to generate cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I wouldn't take this personally.
Right. So, Victoria, did you get how Ben arrived? Sorry, how Steve arrived at the cost of 35,000 per unit?
No. Can you
No.
please
Okay.
explain that?
So I'm going to
Because
Okay,
it's
say
so
duplex, so they are two. Because
yes,
they are
exactly.
two,
correct.
so
Yes,
okay, 7,000. We um
70,000
the
divided by
yeah
two
we
units
yeah divide yeah.
is
Okay, cool.
35,000 per unit.
Okay, and 2% because cash flow divides down payment multiple 100, right?
Correct.
Great. Okay, cool.
Excellent. So this is how we decide. Okay, now before we go forward, there are two things to consider here, right? You already know this from the game, but I'm going to outline it for you just so that we are clear. We don't have to, we consider these things, consider it in these terms as we go forward, right? So, first, there's a capital gains that you have to make, and then there's cash flow that you have to make. You can have two kinds of income. One is through capital gains, the other is through cash flow. Now, here, if you have to make capital gains, you have to buy in profit. Now, most people think you have to sell in profit, right? So,
Yeah.
this is not about selling in profit. This is about realizing profit when you buy.
Okay.
If you're not buying in profit, then you cannot sell in profit. Let's think of it this way.
Okay.
You go to pick up something. You go shopping. Sometimes you come off with a feeling that you've been ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
True? Sometimes you feel you've overpaid for something which you do not value so much for. On the other hand, sometimes you probably you get something at a sale or an offer. So there's an offer price and there's a sale or something like that. There's a discount sale, and you pick up something which you value so much, but you got it at a very low price.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel you have made a profit in terms of value.
Okay.
That's not only because your cost has gone down, it is also because your perceived value is higher in your mind.
Okay.
You think this was a good deal. So,
Mm-hmm.
when you make a deal, even in the game or in real life, you have to have that kind of feeling. You have to have that kind of um, feedback about the deal to be able to say, yes, I got a good deal. I got a,
Mm-hmm.
I got it. Um, I got value more than I paid for. That's where buying in profit comes into picture. When you have value more than what you have paid for, that's when you have uh, a deal in profit, buying in profit. Now, if you have to buy in profit in the game, you have to know, or even in real life, you have to know your history. You have to know your trends. We call it trends in economic terms. We call it trends or economic cycles. So,
Okay.
whenever you go and pick up something, if you know your history, you know whether you are buying in an up cycle or a down cycle. If you're buying in a down cycle, then you are getting something which is underpriced. Distress sales happen during a down cycle. There is an up cycle, there is a boom where everything is inflated, every price is appreciating. So you buy something in a down cycle, and you can see that in an up cycle, in a boom, you will automatically appreciate in value without your effort. So there are other
Okay.
ways of in real life. There are other ways of making appreciating value, like picking up something which is not doing so well, working on it, turning it around, and increasing the productivity or the utility of of the unit or the property or the asset, producing more cash flow. And when you produce more cash flow in real life, when you produce more cash flow, your asset has more value. So that is about buying in profit. So here we know our history. When you look at our history, you know that a plex unit, one single plex unit doesn't sell for more than 40,000.
Okay.
This one is already 35,000, which means you are trying to buy in an upcycle. That's why the
Which
price
is
is
not
high,
a smart thing.
which is not a smart thing.
Okay.
When you when you have an upcycle, you wait and you sell your assets, so you will actually make capital gains on it. In an upcycle, you sell, so it's called a
Yeah.
seller's
Okay.
market.
I get
In
it.
a down cycle, you call it a buyer's market, because in a down cycle, you get stuff which is underpriced. You get things which people are trying to desperately get rid of. So in their desperation, they give you great deals, and you'll be able to pick them up. Now there's another cycle to it. There's another side to it. If you buy a piece of land, I've said this many times in our Zoom meetings, but since you are here, I'll say this again. Uh, if you buy a piece of land, you build a villa or a house or anything on it, say an apartment complex, doesn't matter. You build something on it. When you build it, you have a cost. You have a cost for your labor, for your materials, for your permits, for your licensing, for different kinds of things, utilities, everything together you have built uh, has a cost. Everything together, you come to a final sum and you have a cost. Now, if you want to dispose, if you want to sell this asset, if you want to liquidate it, if you want to turn it to cash, your first priority would be to receive back your cost. So if you want to receive back your cost, that is when you are selling at the bare minimum that you can afford to. You cannot go at a loss. You want to go with what you have invested, at least without interest or with interest or whatever it is, you want to recover it back. And that is the minimum cost that you want to sell it at. Now, every time you see a sale on the game or even in the market, everything that we say, we consider the game to be a real market. So that's how we play the game. So everything that you see in the game, you need to know what is the probable cost of the asset. How different is it that I am paying from the probable cost of the asset? Now, if the asset costs $20,000 to build, and I am paying $35,000, then I am closer to the best valuation. Valuation is another word you need to remember. You are selling closer to the best valuation, not to the best cost. So there are two things, there's valuation and there's cost. Cost, we already know. It is the bare minimum of expenses, including your time cost, that you have put into building the asset. Valuation, on the other hand, is what somebody is willing to pay in the current market situation. what somebody is willing to pay in the current market situation for the same asset. So if you have built your asset at $20,000, somebody is willing to pay $35,000 for it. So $35,000 is the buyer's valuation. $20,000 is your cost. So what you make in terms of capital gains is 35,000 minus 20,000, that's 15,000 per unit. And this is how you analyze whether you are buying in profit or buying close to valuation. Now this one, 35,000, the best valuation we know from the game or in real market, you know from the trends, you know by doing market analysis, you know by doing market research, you know by checking out the previous deals that have happened and analyzing it over the last 20 years. So that's 20 years is a basic thing for real estate. So any asset from real estate or property market, you always look at it in terms of, is it possible to see the last 20 years of transaction in that particular area for this particular asset. And that's when you know whether you are buying in an uptrend or a downtrend, in an up cycle or a down cycle of the market. All right. So when you're buying at 35,000 and you've already done your market research and you know that the cost is 20,000, but today's price is 35,000. Now when I look at it as a buyer, it doesn't become so interesting to me. This is why Steve said he wouldn't invest in this one. The Steve wouldn't invest in this one because for him, he already knows the cost and he wants to buy in profit, which means buying closer to the cost. When you're buying closer to the valuation, you are not buying in profit. Unless the valuation is close to the cost, of course. All right. So we covered a few things here. One is valuation, the other is cost, buying in profit, and what else was that? Capital gains, what we make as capital gains. And this is one way of making this is one of the kind of incomes that we are supposed to generate for ourselves, either in real life or in the game. The other
Okay.
one is your cash flow. How can you make cash flow? When you have a surplus of capital gains and you want to invest, that is when you actually become an investor. When you have a surplus of cash. Now, cash, you see right here, okay, right now my cash is $400. On my screen, you can see cash is $400. That cash is actually in my asset. When I look at my balance sheet, I will see it under assets. So I want to convert my asset, which is cash, into cash flow. So if I want to convert my cash into cash flow, the way to do it is to invest my cash. So I can exchange one asset for another asset. The first asset that I'm going to pick is cash. And then I will exchange it for another asset which can generate cash flow for me. Cash by itself does not generate cash flow for me. So when I have a surplus of cash, I can invest it. Steve mentioned this as well. Steve mentioned exactly this. If I had enough cash and I was only looking at cash flow, I would invest in this property, in this asset. I would take this deal. But otherwise, I wouldn't take this deal. So the reason why he said that is because right now the priority of the player, the priority of us in a market, the first priority is to make capital gains. Then you can convert that cash that you make from your capital gains into cash flow. And that's how we move forward into the fast track. Right? So this deal, and okay, also you need to look at your deal description. When you look at a deal description, it gives you a lot of hint about a real market. Says this duplex is the best in the neighborhood. Proud owner, which means when you have a proud owner, it is an indication that he or she is not willing to go down because their um, expectation, their imagination, their feeling, their emotion about the asset is very high. So if you have something like that, if somebody is very proud about what they have as an asset, it is very difficult for us to make a deal in profit. So proud owner is retiring to another state to be near her grandchildren. So the owner has a need to sell, but it is not at the cost of her pride about her asset, which is very difficult in terms of cooperation. All right, so I will pass this deal and we will move on with the next player. Oh, that's you.
Okay. What about donation?
All right, good question. We really don't have a clear strategy about giving to charity. But my policy is if you are in positive cash flow, if you are in a
Okay.
positive payday, I always take it.
100. 200. I'm a mechanic, so I have cash flow 670
Uh-huh.
and donation
Okay, sorry.
now.
We were not supposed to do this. I was supposed to stop sharing and you were supposed to be sharing your screen.
Um, okay, because I'm different on the different different device, so I'll turn
To
the
see you.
camera. Yeah, it was me. So this
All
is
right, okay. Can you get closer?
yeah. About donation or about my financial statement?
Financial statement first. Let's have a look at
Okay,
it. And
can you see it?
let me change the view. All right. So, mechanic, salary of 2000. Look at your expenses. Your expenses are
Yeah,
really low, which means
yeah,
1280, if I'm not mistaken.
yes,
All right.
right.
So at 1280, what are the chances that you will be able to move to the fast track with a higher uh, uh, cash flow day income? Yeah, if
Mm-hmm.
you play the regular game, which means you play with a positive payday, uh, your intent would be to go above 1280 only,
Which is not enough in the
which is
fast
not
track,
enough.
in my opinion.
Yes, yes. So we'll see also during what we do, we'll also see how we can do this in the right way. I know you already know the strategy of borrowing and covering up for the payday.
Yes.
But it is also about doing the right deals, the good deals. So if you do the good deals and you are borrowing against the good deals, that means you have a better possibility of spending your money or spending your leverage, spending your loans actually on good leverage.
Okay.
All right. So this is also one of the intents. This is also what we would do during the as we go forward. All right. So you have an expense of 1,280. So you would pay 100. Your, you would pay from your total income or from your 10% of your expenses.
Yes.
10% of your expenses.
For the donation we're talking about, right?
Donation. Yes. Yes. For the donation.
Yes, it's 200.
200. Okay. So that's 10% of your income.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 10% of your income is it's like a type. I don't know if you know the concept of type, but Kiyosaki in most of his books he mentions. Oh, okay, one second. All right, sorry. Okay, so Kiyosaki he always mentions uh, he donates. He believes in God, so he donates his tithe or 1/10 of his income, which is why in the game he has put that into picture. He says God is his partner in all his deals. So this is basically based on that, but I have a different version of it. What I think is, if you are uh, if you are someone who donates, and this donation does not have to be exactly in terms of money, but it can also be in terms of uh, doing good for the society. This is why most corporates have something called a CSR program or a corporate social responsibility program.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means they donate, they do good projects, they good community development projects for the community that they are based in, which actually gets them a lot of goodwill from the local society. So this is the reason why it says you get three turns, two dice, because you are doing something good, you are receiving some goodwill from your society. That's the reason why he says, why the game says you donate and you can do two dice for the next three turns,
Okay.
right? So
Okay. So I click only donate because of the whole
okay,
explanation,
all right, okay.
and because my thoughts are, if you're just in the beginning of the game and you have um,
Uh-huh.
positive cash flow,
Yes.
so the opportunity to make double because of this one paydays is higher if you donate, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really cost only 10% of your income. So it's good to make your cash, like you said, these assets uh, bigger in a really quick time.
Right. That was how I would look at it when I started out playing the game 2.5 years ago. But then I wanted to find a good reason why the donate function
Okay.
is there in the game.
Okay, cool. And sorry
And
about my shaking
that's all right.
camera, but it's on the phone, so I balance it with one hand the phone and with the other I play. So yeah,
All right.
I will try for the next week and for the next meeting to do it in one device, not in separate.
That's perfectly all right. All right. So this is what happens. Kiyosaki believes in donating, and
Mm-hmm.
corporates, they also believe in doing good to the community.
Okay.
So when they do good to the community, they become more acceptable to the community. And when you are acceptable to the community, that means you are gaining, you are earning goodwill from the community, which means uh, the investment that you are making in terms of corporate social responsibility, CSR funds that you are utilizing, or the projects that you are doing, the efforts that you are putting in to develop the community, will actually come back to you in terms of orders, in terms of publicity. If you have noticed, there's the Bill Gates and Melissa Foundation. Microsoft has a
Mm-hmm.
charity activity. So they give away a lot of money. That money is
Yeah.
not actually the money, I mean, of course, it is going to a good cause, but it is also getting them a lot of good publicity, a lot of good PR. And for that reason, you can actually reduce on your marketing expenses, on your advertising expenses, and instead do something good for the community, as well as reach your audience with a better image.
Okay.
So these donations are used in different ways. Sometimes when you visit probably a hospital, you would have seen, oh, this room or this facility was donated by uh, this particular club or this organization, this company
Mm-hmm.
donated this wing.
Mm-hmm.
So all this is to make a permanent mark for themselves in that particular community. So when you move ahead, you will have the support and the encouragement of other people in the locality, in the market.
Okay.
Right.
So
So let's move.
let's
This is,
end.
yes,
Yeah,
end your
and
game, end your turn, and the next would be Steve.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm a doctor.
Well, this is the most difficult. Okay, most difficult profile, if you ask me, because the income is high and the expenses are high. Very
Yes.
difficult to cross over unless you know the right deals and you play the right thing. There you go.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna go for this.
All right, let's ask Victoria to analyze the deal this time.
Okay.
okay. So we have house for sale.
Right.
Mm,
Let's start with the description.
okay. Cost six
No, no,
seven
no. The
thousand.
description, the transferred skilled
Okay.
tradesman, that part.
Wait. Transferred skilled tradesman kept this 3-2 house in excellent condition, so it
Right.
commands top dollars rentals in older neighborhood.
All right. So analyze the information. What does it say?
It cost 6-7 thousand.
No, no, no.
Cash flow.
Before you go to the cost, forget the numbers. Forget the
Okay,
numbers.
about the description.
about the description. Yes.
Honestly, I never read
The
this
description.
the description. I only look at the numbers,
Numbers.
calculate them, and just decide if this a good percent or not, and just deal with it. So I'm not sure I can do the best analyze about this.
Go ahead. There's always somewhere to start.
Um.
Okay,
So
let's look at some of the keywords. It says
okay.
top dollar rentals,
Okay.
which
And what does
means
it mean?
your rent is at
Is
its highest
okay.
for what you can achieve for a house, 3 by 2 house, right?
Okay. This 400 are the
400.
top.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that gives you market information. This is part of your market research. So the best
Uh.
rent that you could make out of a 3 by 2, as of what you know right now, okay, according to the description, this is the best rent that you can make from this house or this particular 3 by 2 house in this market, in this neighborhood. Now, it says something about the neighborhood as well. It says in older neighborhood. Okay, Vic, I want to just think. Why do we do the analysis of the description?
Because the additional information which give us.
Not about the game. It is about real life,
Okay.
right? So all these descriptions are summaries which are taken from real life.
Cool. I didn't know that. And okay.
So when we analyze these descriptions, it helps us understand the real market. We're not here just to win the game. I mean, not just the online game. We have to win the
Yes.
game of life. And to win the game of life, we need every resource, every tool, every little bit of information that we can collect, that we can gather, that we can reach out to. And this is one of those. So when you look at the description, you see what the real market is actually seeing or what you need to look for in the real market. You look at the profile of the person who's selling the house. He is a skilled tradesman, which means he is proud of his skill. He is a technical person. He is not a salesperson. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're dealing with a technical person, you need to know what kind of person he is and how to deal with a technical person. A
Okay.
skilled tradesman. He has been transferred. So he is moving out. So he has no choice. He has to sell the house. So he's transferred, which means if he has to keep his job, he has to go to a different location. He cannot stay here. He cannot live in this house. He cannot keep this house and continue uh, living there or continue using it. So he is transferred. He has to move. So seller is it is important for the seller to sell it. So the seller has a compulsion to sell. This is very
Mm-hmm.
important for us because if he is not compelled to sell, then you are chasing him. But if he is compelled to sell, then he is chasing us. So who gets the upper hand? Who gets priority? Is it the seller or is it the buyer? In this case, since he has to sell, we as the buyer get an upper hand. We have the power. We have the negotiating power. So that's what this means when you say transferred skilled tradesman. Okay, so the fact that he kept his house, the 3 by 2 house, in excellent condition means for you when you pick up the asset, you have to spend very little on maintenance, which means your
Mm-hmm.
expense apart from your purchase price is close to zero, right?
Yes.
This is one of your important considerations when you are buying an asset. Okay, I buy this asset for this amount of money, but how much am I going to spend on it in terms of maintenance, in terms of getting new permits, in terms of adding or expanding it? All these are concerns which you face in real life when you are purchasing an asset, when you are investing in an asset. Okay, so this is already in top condition, so which is a good sign. It is a positive feedback about the house. Transferred skilled tradesman, which means he has to sell, which is also a positive feedback about the deal. And so it commands top dollar rentals, which means good rental income, which is also a positive feedback in older neighborhood. Now, in one of the previous videos, I don't want to go into the description of neighborhoods right now, but older neighborhood simply means you have well settled people over there. There's less disturbance, there's less chaos, and everybody is um settled into their routine. It's a peaceful neighborhood. It's not a
Oh,
troublesome one.
okay, cool.
So all this is positive feedback about the deal. Now we go into the numbers.
Okay.
Right,
So, like I said, cost 6 7,000.
right.
Cash flow
How about the
400, and
cost? Is the cost uh, reasonable? Close to,
can
if you buy at 67,000, are you buying in profit?
I think yes,
How would you know that?
because the stock price of these houses uh in up train is 125,000. So it will be in profit like 63,000. Yes.
All right. Okay.
So
You are
yeah.
right about that, but that is a little different from what you would want to do in terms of looking at the price. You know
Okay.
the possible valuation, possible highest valuation, which is 135,000, no doubt about it. But you also need to know what is the cost. Because I told you, you are buying in profit when your current price is closer to the cost, not closer to the valuation, unless the valuation itself is close to the cost. Now your valuation is at 135,000. Your cost is something that you need to know, and this should be part of your research. Now, if you look at property market, the best people in a property market are the people who can tell you what exactly it will cost you to build a house. You have standard average rates. So it says they say okay to build a house to build a house every square feet would cost you so much. It's an average, but that's an average which the market uses to find out, to make easy calculations. So, our responsibility as buyers or as investors is to invest in property which is which has an asking price which is closer to the cost, because that's as low as you can go. You cannot go any lower than that. So that is the cost, and you need to know what the cost is rather than knowing what the possible valuation is. Now, let me explain that as well. Is there a guarantee that you will make it to the valuation?
There is a chance.
There is a chance. So that's all you have about making a sale. You have a chance. So there's a market card for 90,000, there's a market card for 100,000, there's a market card for 110,000, there's a market card for 135,000.
Yes.
Now, there is a chance of you landing any of these. There's a market card for 65,000 also. Have you noticed?
I'm a little bit lost.
Okay, there is a market card. Just as there is a market card for 135,000,
Okay.
there is also a market card for 65,000 for a
Okay.
true house.
Okay, but we don't know which one we will have, and it's not, if we are not in hurry, we will not sell it in 65,000. We want the price which is higher to make the higher profit.
Correct. As you wait, you should not forget that you are actually losing money. The
Okay.
longer you wait, the more money you are losing. I wish Ersan was here. He has a 2% rule. And it's very interesting the way he explains it. He has a nice, beautiful Excel sheet. And he does that very well. Normally, every time this topic comes up and he is here, I always ask him to do that. He has a rule. Okay, there's a proverb. Says a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Right? So something that you get today, the value of something that you get today is sometimes much higher than the value that you get later. Because there is no guarantee again. There is no surety that you will be able to get the market card which will bring you a profit of 67,000 or 65,000. 62,000 or 63,000. Right? So
Okay, and what is the cost in this deal? How I can calculate it?
that is the right question. Right. So among the big deals, your cost of a 3 by 2 house can go as low as 65,000. Right? So when you look at 65,000 and you look at the current cost, which is 67,000, now you
Okay.
know you are closer to the cost, not closer to the valuation. So if you pick up
So
something which is closer to the cost, you are sure it is a definite. What is definite here? The money that you're going to spend to wait is the lowest. Number one. Anytime you want to sell it, you will always be making capital gains. number two.
Okay, so
So
this
you are
is what you
already
mean about the cost. If the cost in the downtrain or it's in the uptrain, let's say market. Okay, cool.
okay. So if you
So
are
this is in
profitable,
the, yeah.
you always
Okay.
know for sure. See, we are not here to make assumptions. We are not here to depend on luck. We are here to control. The idea behind an investor is the ability to control his investment. Now, if you want to be in control of your investment, now this is the operating word which Kiyosaki always uses. He says you have to be in control. And the way to be in control is to know your definite factor, which is why we look at the cost of a deal not from what you can make from it, but how close the cost is to the actual cost of building or creating that asset.
Okay.
So we want to chase what is definite. We want to chase what is sure. We want to chase what we can be confident about. Now, I cannot be confident about saying I will get a deal in two turns for 135,000 and I can sell this asset. I cannot be confident about it. But I can be confident that I have made the deal in profit. I have purchased this asset in profit. And that
Okay.
is control. When you control your actions based on facts, not based on assumptions.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Steve. All right, sorry. Vic, you want to talk to us about what is the cash flow, what is the ROI, what is the down pay percentage?
Sure. I can explain my motivation for going to buy this.
Yes, please.
So it's a very good chance to buy in profit for capital gains. As we've stated, there's only one market card that is lower than this cost, and we've got 90, 100, 110, and 135 above. So it's a very good opportunity to buy in profit for capital gains. It's costing a 17% down payment for the cost of the property. Is a 17.7% down payment. The ROI is not brilliant. It's 3.3, but it still is generating an income in the interim while we're waiting for the opportunity to sell and profit and for capital gains. So that, in a nutshell, is my motivation for buying.
Excellent, Steve.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead with this. So the effect that this is going to have is going to take this down 1.2, my payday, and up 400. So the net effect is down 800
Right.
on
So
the
you end
effect on
up
the
with
payday. Yeah.
3,500 paid.
Yeah. Okay. You're on, Ben.
Ben.
All right.
Hi, Ben. Nice to see you.
Hi. Nice to see you too, guys. Oh, I see
Hi.
only though, not the other guys. Let's see. Share screen.
Yes.
Ja. Du må jobbe for å sette TV, det vet vi. Ok. Yeah, here and there.
What are you, Ben? What is your profile?
I'm an engineer.
Engineer. Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
So expense is 2,150.
No, I'll put them into. Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
All right. Let's roll. I'll take small deal. Just kidding.
All right. You want to do this, Ben?
Got a duplex. Duplex for sale. The owner is moving out of this duplex due to growing family. Tenant remains well maintained, excellent landscaping. So basically, this duplex is in good shape,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, good shape, and it still has the tenants that, and for the cash flow, so the tenants is still there,
Right.
and yeah, the area it is in is pretty excellent, as it says here.
Well maintained, excellent landscape.
Yeah, so they value their property a lot, basically, because what should I say is that uh, no, I ain't got the words for it, but yeah, I think you can
All
explain
right.
it better.
So let's look at what the first word says. It says owner moving out of this duplex, which means there are two units. The owner has been living in one of them and has been renting out the other unit. So first of all, the cash flow is from one unit, not two units. Correct? Nice. Now, the
Right.
owner is moving because his family is growing. The tenant remains, which means us, we as investors have the responsibility of finding one more tenant for the second unit. Excellent landscaping, well maintained, which means you don't spend anything on maintenance. You don't spend more money after you pick it up. So 50,000, your cost is pretty much all the money that you need to spend on it to own it, or let's say 8,000 your down payment. That is all that you need to spend in terms of personal cash. But you still have the responsibility of finding one more tenant. And look at the rental income in that case, 240. If you double it, 480, which is around for a flex unit. If you notice in the rest of the cards, in most of the other deals, you don't get this kind of rent. 280 is for one unit is a good deal. You want to run the numbers, Ben?
All right. So the cost is 60,000. Cash flow is 240. Down pay is 8,000.
Right.
So to find out the down payment percentage, you take the 8,000 divided by 50.
1,000 divided by 50.
And 100 is 16% down payment.
16%.
And
Which is
come
not
again?
bad, huh? Because your cutoff would be somewhere around 20%, although you can find some good deals still at 25% also. But
Right.
in the normal market, in a regular market, your 20% would be your maximum. Maximum
20% is max.
20% is your maximum down payment that you can afford for a deal.
Yeah.
Go ahead then.
All right. Let's see here. Ja. Då må du jobba och göra någonting. Silan kan hjälpa dig. Okay, let's see here. ROI 240 divided by 8,000. That's a 3%.
3%.
3%.
So, what is the cost of a Uplay unit in the game? Cost of a deal. Not in this deal, lowest cost of a Uplay unit. Or a
The
flex
cost.
unit.
You mean per one plex?
One flex, yeah.
1 minute. Yeah, that would be half of fee. That's the 25,000.
This one, in this deal, it's 25,000. How do you know if it is close to the market cost? The lowest market cost. How do you know if you're buying in profit?
The lowest market cost, I remember, I think it's 20,000.
20,000, yes.
That's 4 plex.
Right. 4 flex, 8 flex, you can all find them all at 20,000.
Right.
There's a deal for an 8 flex at 160,000 cost. So, the lowest that you can find is 20,000. The highest that you can get is 40,000 for a flex unit. So you are closer to the cost, which means you are buying in profit, maybe not so much profit, but still buying in profit. What would be your choice? Let's look at how it affects your financial statement.
So my cash is one. The total income is 4,900. Expenses is 3. Payday is 1.7.
Right. So you have a cash of 2,000 that you can spend on this deal if you do the deal. Which means you're short of 6,000.
Right.
Right. So you have to take a loan for 6,000. So if you take a loan for 6,000, your per payday, your additional expense is 600. So your additional expense is 600, and your cash flow from the property is 240. So that will make it 460. Correct? You put in negative 460 into your payday. So, so go ahead, make your move.
This is yeah. I'll pass this one.
You pass it, sir? Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Could you explain why you passed it?
Because I know I could get um, a better deal than this one
Okay.
when it comes to the market that I'm. Uh,
Okay.
as
So
far as
you want to
market,
make, if you buy a Plex unit, you want to buy it at 20,000 only. Is that what you're trying to say?
come again?
So are you trying to say if you buy a Plex unit, you only want to buy it at 20,000 per unit?
It's not something that I've thought about, but not necessarily at 20%. So
You don't want to make the deal because the cash flow is 20%?
I believe so. Yeah.
You had cash flow of 3%. You had a down payment of 16%, right? 16%. So, what are you waiting for? What would you want more than this?
Um, I would want a better deal.
Okay, how much better? What kind of cash flow? What kind of ROI? What kind of down payment? What percentage of down payment? What cost?
Uh, Trying to make this hard for me.
We cannot go by assumptions here. We are beyond assumptions.
Right. I'm thinking what I would want best is at least a 4% in cash flow.
All right?
That's my minimum.
Uh-huh.
And hold on. Jesus Christ.
All right. You want to attend that, Dan? You could exit and come back because there's only 1 minute left. Ben, you're connected? You can hear us?
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, he just woke my fiance up while she was sleeping because she came from night shift.
Okay.
He snuck himself in the room and started crying.
Oh,
So where were we?
right, Ben. So you were saying you would want a better deal than 16% down payment, 3% ROI. So we were discussing what you would like better.
Not necessarily, but I usually jump over this one. Only take it when I need to,
Mhm.
but I usually go for cash flow first.
You would want to go for cash flow
Not
first?
necessarily cash flow first, but
Hmm.
yeah, because I have a little bit more patience than usual, so I wait till I get a
Okay,
better deal than this one.
right. Okay, I think that's a good way to put it. If you have the patience and you
Your sound is gone. You're on mute.
Is it okay now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hear you
Oh,
now.
I have been having this trouble for some time now. I need to get it fixed. I'm looking at ways to get it fixed. Sorry.
You don't know what it is?
No, I think it's got to do with my sound card, and
Okay.
I'm getting a new sound card. I think it's supposed to arrive today.
You should do a crowdfunding.
I wish I could get it earlier, but I think it is arriving only today evening. So most
Good.
probably for the next meeting, we'd be good with perfect sound.
Right.
All right. So
What about the
you want?
microphone you had?
Oh, the microphone is attached to my webcam.
Okay, now is it? I'm thinking about the one you used, the clip-on microphone, I think.
No, it's not that one anymore.
Okay, you're gonna get a new one because I missed it.
This microphone is okay. I think it's got to do with the sound card on my laptop.
Okay,
I think it's a little old, so I think it's time for the replacement or an addition to.
because I missed the sound that you had before.
Okay, no worries. We'll get it back. We'll get it fixed. Because those
Right.
days I was using a desktop and I could have a good. My environment was much better.
Nice.
Now since I moved to India, I don't have that same environment anymore, and since I travel a lot, I can't use the desktop. I have to go to
Exactly.
my laptop, and the
Right.
laptop is not. I don't know. It's not cooperating. Let's say.
Mm. Not sure.
So yes, if you wanted to wait out for a deal, I think one way I agree with Ben because the deal is quite small. The only capital gains I could make on it most of the time I could make on it is probably around 50 or $55,000 at best. I don't remember exactly, but that's I don't want to go into the calculations right now. But the capital gains, the potential capital gains that I can make out of that is not so great. But in spite of it, most of the time I pick up the deal. I do pick up that deal for the fact that it fits all my requirements. I want the down payment to be less than 20%. I want I don't care about the cash flow if the asset is giving me capital gains or is sure to give me capital gains. If I'm buying close to the cost, that is, or if I'm buying in profit. Okay, in this deal, it's 25,000 per unit, which means I'm buying 5,000 above the cost, which is, yeah, I wouldn't say it's great, but I wouldn't say it's a bad deal. I can still make some profit when I get to sell it, and most of the time I have more flex units. I don't just stop at one flex. I buy every flex that is possible that I can get a deal for. So I don't ignore that deal, but it is true that the amount of capital gains that you can make on it is a little less than what you can. In spite of that, I don't think it's a reason to ignore the deal. Anyway, let's go ahead. Who is next? I think it's me. Yes. Okay. So share screen. All right. So I roll. I go to the big deal. All right. Who wants to talk about this?
I can do that.
All right, let's hear you.
So you have a 20-acre vacant land, currently zoned residential. Possibility of a good appreciation if rezoned commercial.
All right.
So I'm not sure what the zoned residential is. Currently zoned residential.
Okay. We'll talk about zones.
So yeah, you probably know that.
Yes, I do. Let's see what else you've got here. And then I'll go into the zones. I'll talk about zones.
Okay. So there is a possibility of a good appreciation. So that means if you're lucky, you could get gains on this deal. So cost is 20K, cash flow is nil, and down pay is just the same as the cost, so 20K. So this is a sit-in asset. It's a hold. So you'll be taking a risk when it comes to the game, because the market card for me, as I've noticed recently, almost never comes up. Like sometimes it does, but I see it coming up when I'm already in the fast track, when people are in the rat race, basically. So I usually don't take this card, but sometimes for fun, when I have a lot of money, I do.
Right. Okay.
But it doesn't interest me.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. If I had an abundance of cash, I would buy this. But at this stage of the game, and as things are, this would give you a negative payday, yeah. And yeah, I wouldn't go for it unless, like I said, I was sitting on an abundance of cash, and because you no return on it either. Yeah, it's just a hold and wait, like you said, Ben. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Right. Right. Vicky, what do you think?
Absolutely the same. If I have a cash, I will buy it. If I'm not, and this will cost me negative cash flow, absolutely not.
All right. So all three of you have said the same thing, and I want to bring out a few business terms here. So the first thing that you notice is that you are not willing to take this asset because it is going to put you in a negative payday. Now, what do you call it? This is when you say your sensitivity is to be more risk averse. Means you are avoiding the risk. And this is why am I saying this? Because this is a required language when you are talking to financial consultants, when you're talking to people who are in the economy about, when you're making deals, you need to speak the language to be part of the tribe. If you are not part of the tribe, most of the time you don't get the best deals. So you have to get accustomed with the language that people use when they make these deals, or else you run the risk of misunderstanding what they are trying to say, do, or deal, and on the other side, you have the chances of being taken for a ride as well. You know, when you step into a new place, you always try to gel, you always try to mix. So when you present yourself in the real estate market, in the property market, you want to mix well with the people who are already in the market. You want to be part of that community so that you are treated with respect, you are not taken for a ride, you already know what they are saying with the kind of slangs and with the kind of usage that they are making, you already know, or with the kind of terms that they put forward, you already know what they mean. You don't have to misunderstand, or you don't have to uh, wait, waste time to clarify. So the most important thing to realize is that you are risk averse. This is not going to put you in, your sensitivity towards risk is low. You are not, or rather, your sensitivity to risk is very high. So when you look at this deal, you think this is very risky. I don't want to take it. When you look at this deal, you say this is not going to give me any cash flow. It is going to put me in negative payday, which means it is going to increase my responsibility, my financial responsibility to manage my payday. And at this point, I'm not willing to do it. So the rewards may be high, but the risk is not interesting enough. Or rather, taking the risk is not an interesting enough proposition for you. So this is the reason why, this is the principle, or this is the technical explanation of why you don't want to take the deal. Of course, you have zero cash flow. You have to pay 100% of the cost as down payment, which means you are not getting finance. You're not getting a mortgage on this property. Now, if you are not getting a mortgage on this property, then you also have to think the bank does not consider this as a good investment. Now, this is another angle of looking at it. If you are not able to get a mortgage on it, that means the bank or the money lender, the person who is expected to finance the deal, is not finding this as a good investment. If that is the case, then you are putting your own money, or you're putting yourself into liability if you pick up the deal. Also, if you look at it, now, of course, the deal card has come up early in the game, but there is also a possibility that the market card does not turn up at all. Like Ben said, the market card could turn up after you are in the first track, which means your investment of $20,000 is lying around with no cash flow still, no capital gains still. So, which means in either ways, you have not made any income from the property. Every time you do a deal, you know that you are going to make capital gains on it. And in this case, although from the gain, you know that it is going to make a capital gain of, I think, 180,000 or 80,000. I don't remember exactly. It either sells for 200,000 or it sells for 100,000. So if it sells for 200,000, then you make a capital gain of 180,000. If it sells for 100,000, you make a capital gain of 80,000. But in any case, in real life, it is very difficult for you to predict what will happen by the time you are able to liquidate this asset. And it also says possibility of good appreciation if rezoned commercial. So only if rezoning is possible, it is possible to make the capital gains on this deal. Now this uh, rezoning, let's come to the zoning part. So if you do not know it yet, every area in your town, in your city, is zoned as is labeled as residential, commercial, industrial, or what else could be there? Agricultural or farming. Okay. So it's all zoned as different kinds of land. So you cannot build a commercial establishment in a residential zone. You cannot build a house in a commercial zone unless you're building a hotel here. You cannot build a house in an agricultural zone, in a farm zone. You cannot build a house in an industrial zone. You can build a factory in an industrial zone, but you cannot build a factory in a residential zone. So every zone is specifically assigned. Of course, there are mixed use zones as well, and there are relaxations in every zone. So it is not exactly by the word, but for understanding sake, this is how it works. You have different zones, and each of these zones can only be used. You get building permits or you get usage permits only if you are in the right zone for the right project. So if you want to do a housing project, you have to go to a residential zone. Now, currently, the 20 acres of land is zoned for a residential zone. This is something that also that you have to realize. The value will appreciate. Why? Why does the value? Now, this is a question to you. Why does the deal description say possibility of good appreciation if rezoned commercial? It is the same land. It is the same 20 acres. Right now residential, tomorrow commercial. Today 20,000, tomorrow 100,000. Why does this happen? Nobody? Vicky, what do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
All right. So let's say you build a house today on a plot of land, on a piece of land, and you live in it. What is your income?
Can you repeat because I hear it really low.
Okay, all right. So you have a piece of land.
Okay.
Okay, now?
Yeah.
Okay. You have a piece of land. You have a house on it,
Okay.
and you live in it.
Okay.
What is your income?
0. I live in this house.
Zero. Right. Now you live in a different house. This is your investment property. You build a 3
Okay.
by 2. You rent it out.
Okay.
What is your income?
My rent of this 3-2 house.
Yes. The rent after your maintenance expenses. That's your income. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't build a house, you build a shop, a commercial complex, and you rent it out. What is your income?
I pay the rent.
No, no, no. You are building the commercial complex and you're
Okay.
renting it out.
So again, my rent of the all units that I give it to rent.
Right. Now imagine which value is going to be higher. Is it going to be the rent of the house or is it going to be the rent of the commercial complex?
The rent of the commercial.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Think of it the other way. You don't build a house, you don't build a commercial complex, you are setting up a farm.
Okay.
You grow trees on it, or you
Okay.
grow plants, you grow fruits on it.
If I sell the production of the trees, okay, this will be my profit, but
That will be
otherwise
your income.
zero
Right. So, which will be uh, higher?
from the all.
Out of all these options, you have the same piece of land. You can use it for a farm. You can use it for building a house to live in. You can build a house to rent out, or you can put up a commercial complex. You can probably even put up a factory on it, right?
Maybe it depends of the cash flow, because if you need to build house or commercial complex, you need to put a lot of money in
Mhm.
this,
Okay, I'm not
and
talking about income. I'm talking about return.
mm, maybe the
Maybe the
commercial building.
commercial or probably a factory. So the
Yes.
point I want to make here is you have a piece of land, 20 acres of land.
Hmm.
You can use it for residential, which is the zone right now, or you can rezone it for commercial. That's what the description says, right? 20 acres of
Yes.
vacant land currently zoned as commercial, currently zoned as residential. There is a possibility of good appreciation if it is rezoned as a commercial zone. That's what the description says. Now, the
Okay.
reason why there is an appreciation if the residential zone is changed into a commercial zone is because of the potential of the cash flow that it can generate by virtue of the projects that you run on it.
Okay. So this card and this deal is good because of this opportunity to rezone in commercial.
I wouldn't say that. I'm just trying to tell you, I'm just trying to tell you why when you change the zone, the same property has an appreciation. Now, this is
Okay.
again from Robert Kiyosaki. So he says, if you can utilize the same resource to generate a higher cash flow, right now it is a zero cash flow, and you
Hmm.
build something on it, you generate a positive cash flow on it, or you have the potential to generate positive cash flow on it. Now, if you build a house, you have a small amount of rent. If you build a factory, you have a bigger amount of rent. If you a bigger amount of cash flow. If you build a commercial complex, you have a greater cash flow. So depending on the project that you run on the same asset, depending on the cash flow, your valuation of the property, your valuation of the asset changes.
Hmm.
So this is one of the reasons for valuation that you are able to make more money using the same asset. Which is why typically if you go to the city, you find that the land value or the asset valuations are much higher Although there is not much difference in building the same kind of asset in in a countryside or in the city. The cost of building a house is probably the same or very similar if you build it in the city or you build it in the countryside. But the reason why people would move to the city to live in your house is much more important, much more cash flow generating, much more money involved in moving to the city than living in the countryside. So someone who is living in the city has a cash flow of has a salary of a doctor, say for instance, from the game. So there is someone with a 13,000 salary and he lives in the city. Somebody with 2,000 salary and he lives in the suburbs. Isn't that how it works? So when you have a higher cash flow, when you have a higher income by using a particular asset, that is when you are willing to pay a higher valuation for that particular asset. You see why there is a change in value when just by rezoning uh, the property. Guys, is it okay? My audio is fine. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. It's freezing sometimes. I don't know why.
Oh,
Maybe it's my internet connection.
and Steve has not been responding at all.
Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Yes.
All right. So I cannot hear Ben. I cannot hear Steve.
I can hear.
You can hear. Okay. All right. Steve. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, Victoria, did it work for you? Did
No, it's
still hazy?
yeah, I can hear.
No, no, no. I'm asking you whether it is clear about the zoning.
Yes, yes.
All right. So you can make better cash flow if you are in a better valuation if you are in a zone where the cash flow is higher.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, this deal, I don't like the uncertainty with the deal. So I generally, these days, I don't take it. Normally, maybe about a year and a half ago, probably when I was still discovering more things about the deal, I would take it. But these days, I don't spend my time looking at these kind of deals. So I will pass. All right. So
Okay.
let's see now.
You see my screen, right?
Yes.
So yeah,
All right. So you roll 2 dice or 1 die?
2.
2. All right. So since you have already paid for it, always roll 2 dice.
Yes.
All right. Big deal.
Big. So can you see it? Okay. House for sale. 3-2. Businessman liquidating this 3-2 house needs cash to save his business, currently occupied by happy tenant.
Okay.
Tenant, sorry. So
What can you understand from this description?
Businessman is in a hurry because he wants to save his business. So we have the power of this deal.
Exactly.
It's currently occupied by its happy tenant. I'm not sure about this.
All right. So if it says it's already occupied by a tenant, that means you can think of it in terms of you don't have to work to find a tenant.
Okay, cool.
The tenants are the ones who give you the money, right? They are the ones who rent it and they are the ones who create the cash flow for it. They are the source of the cash flow. So if you already have a tenant there, that means you don't have to make an effort to find another one. So your cost of sale to your customer is very low. It means for you to find a client for yourself, you don't have to work. You already have your client, which means you are assured of a cash flow right from the day that you make the deal. So you are saving money, you are saving your expenses from finding a new tenant. Let's look at the numbers.
Okay, down payment is around 10%.
All
And the cash flow percent is not that high, but it's like 2%.
2%. Okay, all right. Okay, what is the 150 by 7,000?
And if, sorry, can you repeat, please?
That's about 2%, yes, a little over 2%.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So I think to pass this deal.
What is the cost?
Because
when you begin a game, your priority is to get capital gains. When you get capital gains, that goes into your cash. When you get your cash is one asset which you want to convert into cash flow. So
okay, so
cost, yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Okay, the valuation here.
Yes.
Yeah, we can sell it in a higher price.
Yes.
But if I want to buy this,
Yes.
I will be a lot of negative because now I have 1,190. So I will take 6,000. So I will be okay. I will be again in positive payday, which is okay. So, but cash flow percent is really low.
Low. So when you are looking at a deal, you have to decide, am I looking for capital gains or am I looking for cash flow? Is this the right time to look for capital gains? Is this the right time to look for cash flow? This is what would influence. Another time we will do how to analyze your financial statement, how to look at your financial statement. But these choices are made based on your decision making skill. So if you improve your decision making skill, that is when you are able to make the choice of whether to go for the deal or not go for it. Okay. So it is not just your payday. It is not whether your payday goes negative or not. Am I getting a good deal or not? Is this is this the kind of deal that I'm looking for? Is this the kind of deal that would sit good on my financial statement? Is this the kind of deal that would fit well into my financial statement, into my portfolio? Now, this deal, $65,000, which means it is at cost. It does not go 3x2 house in the big deal, does not go below $65,000, which means I am buying at cost. It does not get any better than this. The deal is at the best cost. 10% down payment, even better.
Okay, so we have to look more in the down payment and the valuation more than the cash flow percent. Am I
Then
right?
you are looking for capital gains. And in the beginning of the game, you play the rat race in two sections. First, you make capital gains. Okay, I'm just simplifying the process. It's a little more complex than this. We will discuss this. But first, even in real life, first, your intention is to make capital gains.
Okay, so
Next, your intention
I
is
will.
to convert your cash into cash flow.
Okay, cool. So
Right?
let's make a deal.
Okay, go ahead. So let's
Cool.
look at your financial statement now. What did
Yes,
it do to
we
your
ha
financial statement? Are you still in positive?
so yes, it's still sorry, it's still positive. Now we have the rent here, the cost, the assets here, 65,000.
65.
Here is the loan, and it's good because we increase our expenses, so we will increase our passive income to make the fast track,
Yes,
and we are still in the positive
positive, which is
payday.
a good thing. It takes a little pressure off you. Okay, this is the
Mm-hmm.
last 1 minute of the game of the session. So this week's Zoom is coming to an end. I hope you had a great time. I had a great time. Nice to have you all around.
It was fun, guys.
See you all later next week.
Okay. Okay. Thanks,
See you.
folks.
See you,
We'll
Vicky.
continue the game.
Continue the game. Yes, yes. Let's continue the game.
Okay.
Let's put into
Let's
practice whatever we have learned until now.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.